Hello, welcome to Bongapore. With me here today, I have Mr. Kevin Dulo and Edward Gitao, who are the organizers of Choma Sundays, and they are leading a fundraising campaign for Miss Jane Mwangi, who was brutally shot in Kenya a year ago, and she's here to tell us her story. Welcome, Jane.
Thank you.
Can you tell us about an eventful day and what happened?
It was on the 20th of May last year. I was coming home from a church service. It was a Thursday evening, and as I was walking home, I was accosted by three young men, and one of them had a gun. So they proceeded to ask for my phone, and they grabbed my bag, and it happened so fast because before I knew it, they were asking for my M-Pesa PIN number. M-Pesa is a mobile money transfer service that is very common back in Kenya. So I fumbled. I couldn't remember the M-Pesa PIN number.
Of course.
And just in a matter of seconds, the gunman pulled the trigger, and I was lying flat on the ground. And the next thing I remember, he took his foot and he was stamping it because on the bullet wound. The bullet went through the right side of my chest, and it came out through the back, fracturing my spinal cord.
Okay, so at what point did you notice the gun?
Yes, I saw the gun. Yeah.
Okay, so were they pointing at you when they were accosting you, when they approached you?
Yes.
So they had the gun when they approached you, and you saw it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then when you resisted, that's when they fired the shot?
Yeah, I didn't really resist because I gave them whatever they wanted. They were asking for the M-Pesa PIN number, which I think out of shock, I could not remember the M-Pesa PIN number. And before I knew it, the gunman had pulled the trigger, and I was lying flat on the ground. And by the time I fell unconscious, he had his foot on the right side of my chest, and he was just stamping on it. And I remember waking up 16 hours later at the casualty unit of Kenyatta National Hospital. That's when I woke up after a long 16 hours, after a gruesome and traumatic 16 hours, especially for my parents, because they had to go through a series of looking for a doctor, because there are so many other casualty cases that had been brought in. I mean, Kenyatta is a referral hospital, so you can understand that the capacity is low.
Well, much later, did they tell you where the bullet had penetrated into, what organs it had touched?
Actually, the doctor said I am a living miracle, because when you're shot and no vital organs have been shattered by the bullet, but it just went straight out the back, and it came out. It was lodged in my sweater. So the doctors were so astonished that no vital organs had been touched by that bullet. Yeah. So the only thing it did was to fracture my spine, and that's what led to the paralysis.
Let me ask you, Jane. So from the time you got shot and you passed out, what happened? Who took you to the hospital? Do you know if anybody helped you? Do you know who helped?
From what I was told, a neighbor of mine heard the sound of the gunshot, and he came out running. That's when the gunman ran away. So when he came out, he realized it was me. So he ran to my parents' house, and he banged the door, calling them to come out and help me. So by the time my parents were getting to the scene, there were so many other neighbors milling around me, and one of them had put me in a sitting position because they thought I was in shock, because there was no blood coming out of me, because the blood was just going internally. So at that point, my parents took me into the car, and I was rushed to the nearest hospital. It's about, let's say, 500 meters from my home. But by the time I was being taken out from the car to the stretcher, the bullet fell down, and the doctor on call at that hospital, he panicked and he said, we cannot handle this kind of a case. Take her to Kenyatta National Hospital. So that's when I was rushed to Kenyatta.
You wake up 16 hours later.
Mm-hmm.
Did you wake up because you had to wake up, or naturally you just woke up and Had they done anything to you?
No, I woke up because of the sharp pain on my side. I don't know whether
Okay.
the doctor used anesthesia, but I really doubt it, or it hadn't kicked in quite yet, because the pain that I felt was very severe, and that's what woke me up. But then again, that's what saved my life. So
Waking up.
yeah.
Okay. So what happened after that? Did you eventually were allocated a doctor?
Yeah, eventually the doctor came and he ordered a chest x-ray to be done immediately, and that showed there was a lot of blood that was flowing down and going to my diaphragm. And he was like, how long has she been here? And they told her, I think it's been 16 hours. And he was shocked, because it only takes an hour for you to die if you're bleeding internally, because if it clogs up the diaphragm, then you're unable to breathe.
To breathe, right.
Yeah.
Do you have anything that comes to mind or that has come to you since then?
The only thing that I can remember was when I fell unconscious on the ground right after I was shot. I remember feeling a peace I've never felt before in my life. I was not afraid to die at all. And even upon waking up at Kenyatta and realizing I have been in a comatose state for such a long time, I think what ran in my mind was, in the book of Psalms 91, that I will give my angels charge over you to keep you in all your ways. And I truly believe that I survived because God sent his angels to surround me.
So tell us more about now the road to recovery and how you made it all the way to the U.S. from Kenya.
My journey has been quite an emotional journey, but also one that has been packed with a lot of hope, a lot of faith, a lot of courage, a lot of tenacity. Because upon waking up, and I was transferred to a different hospital, and I was taken straight to the ICU. And after 2 days in the ICU, I went through surgery so that they could, operate on my spine and just to decompress it, because there was a lot of pressure from the gunshot. And after the operation, the doctor came and he told me, Jane, you'll never walk again. Yeah, those were the words that he said, that he spoke. And I remember looking at him and asking him, don't you believe in God? Because in my mind, in my heart of hearts, I could not fathom a life of disability. I could not imagine that the God that had held my hand for such a long time all throughout my life would leave me in such a state. And I remember telling that doctor, I believe in a God who still is in the miracle working business, a God who's the author and source of all possibilities. So from that time, even when my friends, my relatives, even when my parents used to come and visit me at the hospital, I would always smile. And somebody came and told me, oh my goodness, Jane, your smile is still the same.
Right.
How can you smile, in the midst of all this? How can you smile when the doctor has told you you'll never walk again?
So if you can just give us a timeline on how we came from Kenya and all the way to the U.S. and any doubters or anything that people said that, hey, this cannot work, because I think I heard something about like some doctors said they couldn't do something for you, right?
Yeah. So we sought a second opinion from one of the top neurosurgeons based in Nairobi, and he examined me and he looked at my MRI and he said, Jane, what you need is specialized intensive physiotherapy that can only be available either in the US or in Europe. So if you can make that happen, I would advise you to go there. Yeah. So that's when we started thinking, long term, and we started looking at hospitals here in the US. My first choice was a hospital based in Houston. It's called Harman Memorial, but that proved to be a little too expensive. Yeah. Okay, for us. Then we looked at Johns Hopkins. That also did not work out. Then we focused on Baylor Rehab Institute. So we started talking to Baylor, and they were kind enough to send us everything that we needed, and we signed all the paperwork. And we did a series of fundraisers back home.
Okay.
Yeah. And by the grace of God, here I am today. So I have been at Baylor for for a total of 3.5 weeks as an inpatient, and that's where I got really good care. And of course, my funds ran out, and I had to be discharged. So now I'm going through outpatient rehab. But my physician at Baylor felt, I could get more if I had more time as an inpatient, so she advised me if I could find a way of going back, then they could be able to do more for me.
Right.
Yes.
So, at what point did you reach out, and who did you reach out to the Kenyan community here in Dallas to be able to communicate to the rest of the community that there was a Kenyan young woman here that needs, help? Who helped with that?
So while at Baylor, the manager for media relations at Baylor, he came to see me in my room, and he told me, Jane, I've done a background check on you, and I see you've been highly written about in your in the news back home.
Okay.
And I think your story is quite an inspiration, and I think it should be told to a wider audience.
Right.
So he asked me if I wouldn't mind. He would get me in touch with a friend of his at ABC Channel 8 News, and that's what he did. So the next day, ABC, they came in and they did my story. Remember, the headline was Kenyan travels to Dallas in search for a miracle.
Yes.
Yes. So at that juncture, the next day, I remember the reporter for ABC, he wrote to me and he said, I've gotten an email from a lady who's a Kenyan, and she wants to come and reach out to you. So I told him, yeah, please give her my contact details. And that's what he did. So the lady, she's called Caroline Bithi Day. She's one of the 6 women who organized the walk that took place on 30th of just last Saturday at Brackenridge Park. And she came and saw me, and she told me, she had just come off home from work, and she normally doesn't watch the news, but that day the Spirit told her, turn on your TV, and that's what she did. And the Spirit told her again, go to Channel 8, and that's what she did. So upon tuning into Channel 8, she saw me on the news, and she could not sleep that night, and she kept calling anybody she knew,
Right.
who's a Kenyan, who's living in Dallas, and 6 ladies came together and they organized this walk. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yes, it is.
The walk was on, what were the dates?
On the 30th of April.
30th of
Yeah.
April. And there is a buzz that it went very well. There was a
yes.
great turnout.
Yes.
People from all over the community came to support this cause, for you to raise funds for your rehabilitation. So far, we have a target that we are looking at for you to be able to stay on in the Baylor rehabilitation program for the next 6 months, in order for you to be clear of, and actually with the hope that you will walk again. Correct?
Yes.
So, what is our target right now for you to be able to get to that point?
Our target is $70,000. We are looking to just get me going.
If you believe and have faith, then you should never stop dreaming or thinking or look into the future, right? And when I first caught wind of this story, it was on Facebook, and I saw something posted somewhere, and I said, there's something going on here. So I read about it, and I said, wow, this is an inspirational story. I was inspired to act. And I remember talking to my wife about it, and I said, hey, do you know about this? And she said, no. And then we researched about it, and we said, we need to do something. I don't think everyone who needs to know about this knows about this. And so we, as a team, we talked, me and Edward here, we talked and said, hey, we need to do something about this. And we did it immediately as soon as we caught wind, and we said, this is what Chomo Sundays is about. It's about community. It's about people. It's about coming together, giving back. Yes. And so the first event we're going to do is during the Memorial Weekend. this year, the Sunday of that Memorial Weekend. And 50% of the proceeds that we get here are going to go towards the program, the rehabilitation program for Jane.
And he just summed it up, very well. Jane will walk.
Yeah. So a friend of mine said something that really resonates with me. He said, the community cared, now the world is caring.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Because my community back home rallied behind me 110%, and that's what has brought me this far. God let this happen for a reason.
Yes.
And I'm still trying to navigate through. What do you want me to do? And I think God wants me to be a champion for those people living with disabilities back home who don't have a voice.
Yes. Yes.
Because a lot needs to change in Kenya in terms of disabilities. Yeah.
I know you get frustrated and sometimes. Can you tell us about some of the things that frustrate you?
This has been quite an emotional, psychological, mental, physical struggle for me, and more so the lack of independence. One moment you're up and about, running around, doing your thing, and the next moment you're incapacitated because I've had to rely a lot on my mom to do everything for me. And even a few months ago, I could not even turn myself in bed because I had no sense of balance.
Your parents can be there for you all the time. That's unconditional love. Do you have anybody you'd like to mention here?
I would give props to Daniel Noto. Yeah.
Who happens to be your boyfriend?
Who happens to be my boyfriend.
Is he here in the US?
No, he's back in Kenya.
Okay.
Yeah. He stood with me regardless. We've been together for 6 years now. And of course, we were planning on getting married. I mean, yeah, that is everybody's dream, getting married, starting a family, building a life together. Yeah. So when this happened, he didn't walk away. He told me, what, we're gonna fight this together. I just want to thank everybody that has supported me this far, especially ladies like Lucy Mackenzie, Rose Kongo, Rose Njeri, Grace Kongo, Jane Yaga, Caroline Bithide, Jackie Karanja. There's a whole list of them. Alex Karundu. I just want to say, and that's what being here on earth is all about, to support each other. One moment you're up, and the next moment you're down, and you will need those people to lift you up, because we do rise by lifting others.
That's true. Okay, thank you so much for being here. It was a pleasure talking to you. You're a wonderful person. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
Thank you, Edward.